Yes, people, Ricky here from Behind the Bars TV, and today's guest has spent 3 years, or just over 3 years, in a women's prison. So we're going to get her story today. But if you'd just like to introduce yourself.
I'm Lee.
So Lee Marriner are you from Sunderland?
From Sunderland, yeah.
Right, so we're just going to go back to the start, Lee, just go over a few things. So where were you born?
I was born in Sunderland, 1983. Getting on now.
Aye. So what was life like growing up in Sunderland?
It was kind of rough actually, because I think I grew up on like probably the roughest council estate in Sunderland. Like all masonette types, walking on the line in the middle of the street, that type of thing.
Well, I've seen like over where Pennywell and all that is.
Aye.
Is it just near there?
It was rougher than that.
Was it?
Aye. It was brutal. It was like fights every weekend, people rolling about like just constant hell on.
But like I see him out of Shameless.
That's what it was like. Proper Shameless estate.
But I am like Pennywell. A lot of that got knocked down, didn't it?
It's all been rebuilt. New houses now, so it's a lot better. It's a lot better now, yeah.
So what was it like growing up? Did you, even though it was like a rough area, because I know like my area was quite rough as well, but you sort of enjoy it, don't you, when you're a kid?
Always the best. I think as a kid, it's what you want, because there's always stuff going on.
Aye.
So and you just knock about in the state. There's always like someone to kick about with and stuff to do, mischief to get up to.
Aye. So what was did you grow up with your parents?
My mum and dad. I've got older sister Sam, younger brother Stephen. Me and our Sam, we're close in age, so we're closer than me and my brother, because he's like 8 years younger.
Right.
So we just used to knock about together on the estate.
So were you all tearaways, or was it just you?
Just me. Well, my little brother's he's also a little tearaway, but he's not as bad as me.
Not as bad.
My sister's good as gold. She lives in London now, 3 kids, and good job on that.
Nice
doing
one.
Well.
Did you get into much trouble as a kid then, like fighting and stuff?
I was always fighting.
Why?
I seemed to always be up to something. Always fighting, always into mischief, always getting wrong. Somewhere, always dulling off school.
Sounding a lot similar to what I was doing at that age, right?
Constantly.
But like you see at that age, it's just all fun and you're not really bothered, are you? Like,
no, I just didn't give a toss.
So did you get told off much by your parents, or were they not that strict?
They were really strict.
Oh, they were
Especially
strict.
my mum, like, I got the slipper on that a few times. But it never affected us, and I was just never bothered, never cared.
Wasn't a deterrent for you?
Oh, no.
Just done it more.
I did.
So what age did you start? Did you drink alcohol and take drugs as a kid?
I think alcohol I started, I think it was about 11, 12. Started like 2020, and the usual
White Storm and White Lightning.
I think drugs a little bit late. I think I was about 13, 14, started with weed.
Right, aye.
I started with weed and alcohol, and then moved on to stronger stuff.
It's what normally happens, isn't it, when you're knocking about?
Aye.
You start off with drinking, and then when you get into the bigger school, start smoking
that's
weed.
That's what it is, aye.
5 of you all chipping a quid each for a $5 deal.
On the bongs, aye.
It was like tack back then, though, wasn't it?
Aye, that's all. You couldn't really get weed then.
It was a rarity, wasn't it? Like skunk and stuff, wasn't it? But it was all like...
Could never get that.
So what obviously in your secondary school, what was happening in that time? Were you...
I think when I started smoking weed, I got in where... Obviously, starting about with people who smoke weed, you go away from... like a crowd. I had a crowd of like school friends who they were good as gold. But then after school I had a different kind of crowd and we'd smoke weed, get into mischief. I think the first time I got locked up I was 13, and I was dulling off school with a couple of the lads, and we're in his ma's house. We ended up taking our car out and crashing it. And
did you?
Next thing I got in after school. That was the first experience of getting arrested. Aye.
So that was your first time getting locked up?
Aye.
What was that like then?
To be fair, I wasn't bothered. Like I should have been, but I wasn't bothered. Even I got grounded when I got back, but it didn't like. Next day I was still smoking weed, still up to stuff.
But like bragging about selling your friends off being locked up.
And I feel like it just made not made us worse, but just it was a sort of like a downward spiral, if you like.
Knowing that you weren't really bothered, it didn't faze you.
I didn't care, but I think my mum and dad like broke up at this point, so I was just living with my mum. So I think that kind of had a knock-on, like an underlying effect, but I didn't realise at the time because I was just started rebelling and.
Yeah. It does, like you see at that age because my parents split up. I think I was about 8-year-old. But you don't realise it at the time, do you? But obviously, when you're going off the rails more, it's obviously a lot to do with what's happened at home, doesn't it? Sometimes
because I started getting in a lot of fights and that as well. Because just after that, I got locked up for like a GBH Section 18,
Did you?
Which for like a 14-year-old is kind of bad offence for Section 18. So it was just I feel like I had like loads of anger and it was just come out in all the wrong ways.
So what happened with that one then? Did you go to court and so on?
I went to court that because I got a caution for the car thing.
Yeah.
And then the next one, that's the first time I had to go to court.
Right.
Which was like I think that got a bit more serious then. Yeah. But again, like as soon as I got off for it.
Did you get off with it? Did you?
I got off with it. Not get off for it. I got a I think I got like a fine and like community service or something.
Right, because of your age.
But I was so young going to community service. It was all like. All the people in the site let me like picking rubbish up and that around the streets. You know what I mean?
So did you start going to nightclubs and stuff at this point? Like when you got a little bit older?
15 was when I started going to like around the town and stuff with my pals. But it was good memories because like I said, I went out with my school friends a lot and we always had good crack and that. And
did you end up getting into trouble in the nightclubs?
All the time.
Well?
I was rolling about. I was getting tossed in police vans. Like then I started fighting with police. Like
did you?
I had a few fights with police. Like.
So do you think you were a bit like anti-authority as well?
Aye,
definitely.
Hated I.
So what about like what else was going on in your neighbourhood and stuff at this time, like your estates and stuff? People pinching cars and stuff, and just
people pinching cars, just always there was just always something going on, like always fighting or pinching cars or when you're on the drink and that a lot, and I was into drugs quite heavily then, like taking ecstasy and whiz and stuff was quite popular at the time. So I was always kind of partying, so there was always some sort of hell on or something going on. You know what I mean?
Well, like you see again at that age, if you're taking drugs, everything just seems fun to you, doesn't it? You didn't realise about the knock-on effects when you get to our age now, is it?
You're just enjoying your life, and you just think it's great at the time.
I think it's good at the time. Mm-hmm. Well, was there like big influences in your area, like people who had a name for themselves that you looked up to and stuff?
Aye, definitely. There was quite a few at that point. It was all like the main like dealers and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And did you feel like you wanted to be like that?
As I got further into, because the thing with me when I've took drugs, I've always ended up selling it. Like I started at school, I started smoking, so I sell fags.
Yeah.
I started smoking like solids.
Yeah.
So I started selling that.
Right.
And then when I start ecstasy, then I start selling that. You know what I mean? So everything that I've been addicted to, I've started selling to kind of fund it to make money, and that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. So obviously you were selling little bits just to fund what you were taking. So what was happening around about like your late teen years and stuff? Were you still?
I was just partying a lot. I started getting heavily more into drug dealing.
Yeah.
I was selling pills and that.
Right.
At this point, going out like on a weekend, selling pills. Started just with my pals and that, and then obviously when you get nightclub, people come up and see you get known for being like the dealer. You know what I mean? So
they were quite expensive as well. The pills that were in the back then.
Really expensive. But I used to get them really cheap.
Right.
Because I used to sell like, got to sell like 1,000 in a weekend. You know what I mean? Loads.
And did you get arrested for selling it before your prison sentence?
That was the first drug arrest. It was in a nightclub in Sunderland called Chambers, and it got raided.
Right.
I tossed them on the floor. Obviously, got seen and got arrested, and that was my first drug offence.
Was it? And what happened with that one then?
I got a rehabilitation order.
Right.
So I was quite lucky. Community service and probation.
Right.
because I was young and it was the first drug offence, they let us off with a rehabilitation order. But even then, like you know, yourself, you've been on probation, you've got to go to your probation appointment. I would miss like appointments. I wouldn't turn up to community service. Like, just wasn't
asked. So what age was that then when that was happening?
I think I was like, I'd have been about 19.
Right.
About 18, 19. It's quite young still.
And how old were you when you went to prison?
I was 32.
32. Aye. So what was happening in them years, like leading up to the prison, or was it just sort of the same?
So basically, after I got after the pills, I got into like coke a couple of years later. I'd say about 21, 22, I start getting into coke.
Yeah.
So then I start kind of selling that little bits just to fund, make little bits of money just to get by. And I was just partying a lot. I just spent my life like partying all the time. I was just holidaying, partying, sessioning for years and years.
Yeah.
Just like having like what I thought was a really good time, you know what I mean? Just doing whatever I wanted when I wanted.
I can relate to that. Obviously, I've done it myself. And like when you're in that mindset, like you've just mentioned there, you think you're having a good time.
Aye.
But that's not
a good time.
When you get to this age and you realise, you look back, like
you do.
Even though you did have a laugh and all that, and you enjoyed yourself. Like, it's not the way to be, is it?
No, it's not. It's not people think. I mean, I see young ones these days and living the life like that, and you kind of tell them now because they just think
they think
it's class. They think they're like gangsters because it's all a bit of coke and that, but it's a monk's game. Like
it is. So obviously, when you were partying, that was partying for days and stuff. Because I remember when I used to do it, it was like Friday or Saturday into the Sunday.
I like constantly. It would always be. I think I'd have like 1 or 2 days off week. It would be like 3 days and maybe a day off, and then same again, like just constantly. One day I went. I mean, 1 week I went for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Still don't know. We've done that this year, like.
And did you have any like relationships leading up to this at this point?
I had 2 long-term relationships during this, both quite fiery.
Right.
I feel like quite. There's a lot of like domestics went on through drinking and drug taking. Stuff I'm not proud of myself, like, but it's like when you're in, you don't see it when you're drinking and on drugs and that. You didn't think there's anything wrong with these relationships. You think it's just normal because you've never had a normal relationship, you know.
Exactly right. What you're saying, like you say, when you're in that mindset, but if both of you are doing it, it's like toxic relationship as well,
definitely
and it's not really gonna. It's not gonna last, is it? So leading up to you, like I say, we'll get to the prison bit. What happened there then?
So I've been selling coke for years. Obviously, just got started off for like grams and stuff, and then just kind of over the years moved up the scale, up the scale. And then obviously I just kind of was getting it off different people. And then I was dealing with obviously a couple of family members. Start getting it off them, and then I think we'd went to pick something up in Newcastle, and I was on my way back, and I got a phone call saying, "Oh, can you grab something else for one of my relations?" So I drove to South Shields on the way back to Sutherland. Went to pick it up off this lad. He tossed it in the car. As he tossed in the car, the busies have just like swooped us, smashed the windows, dragged us out the window, pinned to the floor. Had us all twisted. Obviously, they thought it was a lad because I looked like a lad, so had us like pinned to the floor. So they actually thought I was my cousin first. So they had us like pinned. They were all on top of us and that, and then they realised they'd got the wrong person. Got locked up. Got let out on bail. Obviously got charged with like possession intent to supply. And then I think it was about 6 weeks later they come through my door, like loads of them. Took us back in and then got us on like a conspiracy with I think it was 20 other people.
Right.
I £1.2 million conspiracy.
Was it?
I don't know
whether.
Aye.
So what? Did you all go to trial?
Aye.
Or did some plead guilty?
I think there was one. I pled guilty. I think there was 5 of us pled guilty.
Right. And then the rest went to trial.
Aye, rest went to trial.
You were saying you got a 7-year sentence, but obviously you got time off for your guilty plea.
Aye.
Which is always a bit of a bonus if you know you're screwed,
isn't
it?
I knew I put it straight within like weeks. I knew when I got released on bail for the conspiracy, I went to see my solicitor and I said, like, put me guilty, because I knew they had us bank of rights, you know what I mean? So we'll put it in, because when you're in there, that like, it's like over a year and a half.
Right.
Less than what I would have served, you know what I mean? So
just for the viewers, for the ones that haven't been to prison and stuff, when you go to court, if you put like a guilty plea in, you get like 33, like a 30% off, isn't it?
Aye.
So if you were going to get a 6-year sentence, you would then get a 4-year sentence.
Aye. It's a big deal when you're in there and it comes off, like, definitely.
So we ended up with just over 5 years, was it?
I think it was 5 year and 9 months.
Right.
So just slightly under 3, so...
So you would have been obviously prepared for prison if you knew you were going to go
Aye, yeah.
What was it? When you got sentenced and you got tucked down into the cells like you do, and then they put you on the paddy wagon.
Aye.
What were your thoughts when you were sitting in the paddy wagon knowing that you were finally on your way there?
It was mixed emotions, really, because I think it's like relief that it's finally... Because this went on like for years, you know, waiting to get to trial, because it was like different judges and different solicitors, because when there's so many of you in a conspiracy, there's always problems trying to get everyone... Like all the solicitors for a trial date, and then there was always problems. So it took over like 2 years, I think, to finally get the trial. So you've got to hang on. You know you're going to prison, so you've got like 2 years.
And not knowing
when it's waiting for it, you know what I mean? So you kind of just want to get it done.
Get it out of the way.
But actually halfway through, I said to my solicitor, like, I just want to get it done. Can you just tell him a guilty plea and get us in there one time off my sentence? Because I feel like I'm just waiting for the inevitable. So I went in on remand. And then I was in a couple of months and I was like, fuck this. You know, you get it. I was like, what the fuck? And then, so I said to my solicitor, I was like, come on, like, kind of, I'm not taking the piss, but can I put in for me GSAs?
Right.
So she was like, I will try. So I put in for me GSAs and then they put us on prison tag.
Oh, right.
Like, coming out. So I was on prison tag. And then, so obviously the time I've done them couple of months come off, and then I think you get like half a day.
So like you went in on remand first before you went back in on your sentence.
So, but then I got in there and I was just like, why the fuck have I done this? You know, when you get in. So I come out of prison tag, and then I think you get like half a day or something off for when you're on prison tag.
Right,
but then I come out and I was just taking the piss on the prison tag as well, because I just stopped out. So they end up just taking it off. I think that was in June, and I think I went to jail like the following year, January or something.
So obviously you'd already experienced a couple of months in the prison, so obviously when you went back in the next time, you know what to expect.
I knew what to expect, which was good, because when I went back, I knew people.
Right.
So it was like I wasn't new going back. Yeah. So it was, in that way, it was decent, because it's half the battle when you know people, when you're getting in, it's like, you know. So
we'll just go back to obviously when you got remanded the first time. Then. What was it like when you went into reception? You were on your way to the wing. What was that? What was the feelings like then?
Overwhelming. It's a bit like, fuck, I cannot leave here. You know what I mean? And you get...
It's a funny feeling, isn't it?
It's like, then you're just in this...
Like full of anxiety as well.
Because you go through each door you go through, and you don't know what to expect. Day to day, you never know what's coming, you know what I mean?
So the prison you went to was Lower Newton, wasn't it?
Lower Newton.
So it was next door to Franklin. What year was that
then? Remand was 2016.
Right. So what's the for the inside of like a woman's prisons? Obviously, I'm quite, because I've been in men's prisons, I know all about it. Quite fascinated to find out what it's like in a woman's prison. So what's are you doubled up? Like two to a part?
It depends what wing you go to. A lot of the wings are single cells.
Right.
But they have like the main wings, C and D, where all doubles.
Is there any that there's more than two in it? Or is it all just either doubles or singles?
All doubles or singles.
Right. So did you get a pad mate straight away, or?
No, I was quite lucky. I got singles. I was all singles. Right. I think my whole sentence, I spent about 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
In a double, and I fucking hated it.
It's horrible, isn't it?
It's the toilet thing for me, like, because it's just, you had like a little curtain. It's not even a cubicle. It's just like a curtain coming around, and you just like.
It's a bit like Durham, that thing, because Durham is the same. Like, you've got your bed, toilet there, and then In fact, they didn't even have a curtain when I first went.
Did they
They
not?
just had the toilet.
Oh God!
Sometimes there wasn't even a toilet seat on.
Aye, brutal, innit, man?
Horrible,
Aye.
So you spent like, was it 2 months on remand?
Aye, about 2 months on remand.
And they what was it like on the wings and that then? I'd imagine with it being a load of women, it was quite fiery, wasn't it?
Aye, so I was quite lucky on remand. When I went in, I was just I was on the induction wing most of the time, so it was just A wing.
Is that because you were remand?
Aye. So they just keep you on the induction wing.
Right.
So it's kind of chill on there because it's full of, it's all people just coming in. So it was quite chill. So next time when I went back on my sentence, as soon as you sentence, you go straight over the main jail.
Right.
So they put us on, in Low Newton, if you get over like 5 years, you go to the Lifer wing, which is F wing. So my first cell was actually, they put us in, was actually next door to Rose West.
Right.
And opposite Baby P's mum. So it's like, that's mixed emotions in itself, because you're like...
not knowing how to handle that situation.
Because you know what I mean?
Your instincts just wanting to attack them,
of course you do,
because of what they're in for.
But then, it's like you attack people in there and you straight down the side.
So was there no protection on there, or was it just all mixed in?
So F wing's like a wing kind of off the main jail, so it's kind of out the way. It has its own kitchen, gym, stuff like that. Main jail's just carnage, like seeing days.
Because you would think the likes of like BABP and that would be kept away, wouldn't you?
Aye, well it is. It's like a prison within a prison, if you like, because it's like fixed away. It's quite big. Like I said, you've got like this, like a big sauce room and kitchen.
How many? Sorry.
So you don't have to leave the wing if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You can just cook. You even get like a different canteen sheet.
It must be similar to Franklin that, because you can cook your own food. You've got a kitchen there.
So you've got where the other you don't have that in any other wing. There's no like kitchens and out.
So how many was on that wing?
So there'll be about 50, I want to say. 50 people.
So they're all like big sentences, not then, is it?
Aye, so it's all like your murderers and nonsense.
So what was your interaction like with Rose Weston and BABP? Yeah, BABP's colour, sorry. Did you ever speak to them or?
My pals, I was laughing because I had an argument with Rose West once, because you keep like, obviously there's only one fridge on the wing.
All right.
So any like items that you buy, you've got to keep in the fridge. So obviously I had cheese and that, which I kept in there, and she nicked me cheese once, so I ended up having hell on because she nicked me cheese. But you're selling there, stuff like that's gold to us.
Of course it is.
So I tell that story when I come with my pals, and I was trying to piss out with this one. So she nicked me, so I had hell on once, but she's always protected, so as soon as we start arguing, there's officers there within it, like mini-second, because she's like kind of guarded. She's got her own personal officers that'll be like next to her. And BABP, I had an argument with her as well, because I've got tattoos all over my legs, and she was telling one of her like pals about me tattoos, something, and she touched my legs, and so I said, touch me again and I'll fucking take the side of your face off. And again, like officers there within like seconds, because so wrong how these people are protected in
because
there.
Of that high
you know what I mean?
As well,
and then not long after that, I was shifted off the wing.
Were you?
Aye. Because they must have knew something's gonna happen. The shift is like opposite end of the jail to the quiet wing.
So did they have friends on the wing like Rose West? Did she have her own little?
Well, it's mad because BABP's mum calls Rose West mum.
Oh, does she?
It's like sick to your stomach, man. On there.
So she's doing their life without parole, Rose West, isn't she?
Aye.
So she's never
she has her own private like visit room on her wing as well. So her visitors don't come to normal visitor wing. They'll come to like her personal.
So she would have been quite old now, is she?
She looks nothing like on her pictures. That's how I got a shock when I seen her, because she's like
grey hair.
She's got like bob grey hair. She's small. I always thought she was tall, but she's quite small.
Right.
Quite fat. She always wears, the greens, what the cleaners wear. She always wears them. The trousers and the t-shirt. So she's just wing cleaner. She just doesn't go off the wing.
Right.
I think she went off the wing once when I was in there, and she got banged in the dining hall. Banged her eye, and then she got chipped straight out.
Was there any other high-profile prisoners on there?
Joanne Donahue was in there.
Where was she from again?
She's from down south. She's like the man hater. There's, I think, like pictures of her licking the knife.
I've seen that picture, right?
Basically went on a rampage, killing loads of like gadgets, loads of men in over the UK.
I remember that.
She's life out without parole. So she come up, I think, halfway through my sentence.
What was she like? Was she?
Oh, she's not a nice.
She was like rough and.
She's
ready for a fight, sort
really
of type.
full of like.
Is she like self-harming and that?
Aye, and she's just like.
Away with it.
You just see she's got that like evilness about her. You know what I mean? She's like cold.
People like that, you can sort of just feel it, can't you? Like the evilness in the mind. You can just see it horrible.
She is just not a nice person at all. But had an argument for her in the gym and all.
Did you?
So, well, I got told about that again, like because they're protected. You know what I mean? So I have to go to the gym different times.
So what was the other wing like that you got moved to?
Quiet, so they put us on the quietest wing in the jail.
Right,
like dead.
Was it?
Not just like it was like the self-harm wing. So when people self-harming or you know, when they get what they're not
like constant watch.
Mental health and stuff. So it was like really quiet, and then you know, people's on the buzzers all the time because they obviously need help. So there was no like crack or anything like so that was, I think that was probably the hardest time because it
would have dragged a lot more for you.
Dragged, so every day was just, you know, you'd get to work, come back, and then there was just nothing. So,
because say when you're in prison and you've got a good group of people on the wing that you're interacting with, it passes your time, doesn't it?
Because it is the banter get you by. So,
but like you see, when there's no one on the wing to banter with,
there was just nothing, man. It was just hard, and it was just literally like work back the wing, and then it was just like waiting again for me tea and back the wing.
Was there much? Did you have any fights in prison?
I come close to a few, like, but it's in there. The officers are like there all the time. You know what I mean? But I was, to be fair, I got on quite well with everybody, so I never really
didn't really have much trouble.
There was like a couple of little arseholes, but you always get you.
You do.
You always get them, and I think you know, sometimes you just got to laugh at them.
If you know how to handle them,
you just got to know how to handle them and what they're about. Once you learn what prison's like and once the people's like, you know how to handle situations and what's the best way.
Because if you don't and you're a fiery person, you're going to be in trouble constantly, aren't you?
So
because the majority of people in there that just arseholes, aren't they?
They are arseholes, and you know they try and get you to kick off because you're going to be the one down the seg at the end of the day. But I was, even when I went to prison, like I was pissing about still, like doing bits and bobs for the first year. I still didn't learn my lesson. Like I was still like in that mindset of didn't give a fuck.
It does take a while, doesn't it, to sort of get your head round it and get into a different mindset.
Definitely,
Was there much drugs in there, women's prisons?
Oh, loads, constant.
What sort of drugs was it? What would have been like subbies, not was it?
Subbies, but I know they didn't have this in the men's, but Buscopan. I don't know if you've heard.
I've heard of that. Someone told us
apparently it's a low Newton thing.
I've heard about that. The low
Basically,
Newton
what happened? You got it in. You know, like you get like these packs when you get on the detox wing, apparently, and you get a Buscopan tablet. So somebody was rattling and decided to crush it up and smoke it like heroin, like smoke heroin. So someone had done that, and it actually like sends you into a trip, and it makes you just like
out of it
for like a few hours. So someone had mentally tried that. So then more people did, and then it's just that's what I'll go mad for.
Was this a high?
Buscopan. So people didn't. Subbies still like sought after, if you like, but it's more Buscopan that they go mental for. Crazy.
So did they actually get the Buscopan smuggled in?
Aye.
It's crazy, that, isn't it?
Oh, it's mental, man.
So if someone was actually, because Buscopan isn't like a class B or a class C, I know, like that, is it?
No, but this is where the prisons had problems because it's not classed as a drug, so they had to make it.
That's what I was thinking. If you get caught smuggling in, they can't say you smuggle drugs.
Aye, because it's not a drug; it's a prescription med. Aye.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. Aye.
So was it going for much money as well then?
Aye, the pay. God, I've seen people pay 50 quid a tablet and that.
Because the tablets are quite big, aren't they?
Yeah, you get like about 32 for a quid in the pound shop, and instead of like 50 quid each and that.
Madness,
Aye, it's crazy. But some of the stuff what they do, man, like.
Is it similar to Spice when you have the bus?
It is. It is. I think that's why they like, because Spice is quite just as I was coming out, that was getting quite popular in there. But I would say it's definitely similar to Spice. Some of the things like that, I've seen people scald themselves off the boiler, like washing their hands and that. Like just loads of mad stuff that eat their own like poo and like just mad stuff.
What whilst they were on it?
I jump off the bunk bed and broke bones and that. Like just mad, like total mad stuff. I just like what you're doing, crazy.
So apart from like yourself, was there much violence all the way, or was it happening every day sort of thing?
So when after I moved from B wing, the quiet wing, I moved down to C&D, which is like the hell on wing. It's all doubles and craziness, and there's always something going on. But to be that was my best time in prison, if you like, because when you were all the lasses, like there's just constant banter and music, and like it's all like good crack and that. But there was every day there was fights down there. There was just hell on constantly.
I know I've seen on the prison like documentaries and that before, like there's a lot of relationships with the lasses in the prisons, isn't there?
Aye, loads of people in relationship. Aye.
Do you think it's like lasses that weren't in relationships like that outside, and when they went to prison, it's just like
definitely
like a comfort sort of thing?
Definitely. I think it just helps them through the time.
Helps them get through it.
Definitely. But there's I've seen lasses, well, were going on visits with the boyfriends and go back to the bird on the week, that type of thing, you know what I mean? So, but I loads of relationships, but also then, because we're together all the time, loads of domestics and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Kicking off.
Especially
when it's that
that's
time
mostly
of the month.
what it's like, the fighting's either like with the birds or drugs, so mental.
What were the lasses like with the male prison officers? Were a lot of them like after them sort of thing, wanting them?
Some of them. If a good look, I remember one of them. He'd come and he's a young lad, loves his cell, and he'd come and they were
all over him.
All over him. But they love it as well, man. Some of them,
I bet they do. Because it's just like the female prison officers in the man's
that's
prisons.
What it's like in there.
Some of them they come in and they're like the dog ugly.
Aye.
But the lads are all over them and they're loving it, you know. So
because it didn't get any attention outside.
So it's obviously gonna be work the same way.
Definitely, aye.
Did you ever hear of any of the lasses going with the male officers or out like that?
And there was a male officer. He actually in jail now. Actually, Mr. Whitfield. He got done because he used to get when he used to go into the cells to lock them in at night and that. He used to see bring them stuff in if they stuff themselves in the beds and shit like that. And so he'd done it for years, and he got last year. I can't remember. I think he got like 6-7 years. I want to say.
So he's like preying on them, really vulnerable.
For years, but I was in with a few of the lasses, and they got a lot of trauma through it because there were police were coming to interview with them and that. When I was in, but a lot of them needed like counselling and stuff because it was quite bad what he used to.
Was it?
Aye.
So obviously, if they're like vulnerable, plus if they're wanting drugs and he's offering,
well, that's what he is. He was fetching them in because he knew they're addicts. These people, you know what I mean. I'd say 90% of the girls in there are addicts. Right. So if you're gonna give them what they need, they're gonna do anything you want. So he preyed on them.
How long did he get for that?
I think I'm sure he got like 6-7 years or something.
Did he?
Aye. It was only last year. And there was a woman and all actually went with one of the lasses.
Was it?
One of the woman officers. She got caught. She's in prison now and all. Down in Leeds way, I think.
It's more common than what people think, isn't it? Like out here, it's happening all the time in every prison. It's just
prison officers, aye, definitely.
But sometimes, obviously, when some of them have relationships, it's just like the lasses, like in the male prisons, when the female screws are coming in, they're going into a workplace and they're not really thinking they're doing anything wrong, and they end up having a relationship. And all that. It's like,
I think because obviously you spend every day with these people, and you do
get close,
you get little bonds and that. Like I got on really well with a lot of them. I had good crack with them. I didn't have really problems with any of the officers. I got quite well looked after off.
Did you?
All of them. There was like I think mutual respect there, which was nice. So you become like kind of pals with them. You know what I mean?
Did you ever spend any time down the Seg?
I spent about 5-6 weeks down the Seg.
Did you like off the trot? Like what for full 5 weeks?
Oh, it was fucking brutal that was my turning point.
Was it?
That was my lowest point I think I've ever been in my life. Like in that Seg, it was fucking.
like what you've just said there, that normally is when you're at your lowest.
Aye.
That's when you normally turn it around.
Aye.
It happened with me when I went back on my recall. That's when I turned myself around.
You do. I think you need that. You need to get to your lowest point, or nothing will ever change for you ever.
So when you were at your lowest point in the seg and all that, is this when you just thought that's something just switched?
Well, I first went the first week. I was still getting because I was taking tablets and that, them pre-gabs and stuff.
Right,
and which just make you feel drunk and that. So I was taking a lot of them just to get through the days and stuff, and I was getting them sent down the seg and me meals and sarnies and that.
Right, So
I was still taking them, and then I was just I got about a week in, and I was like, "What am I fucking doing here? When are things gonna change? Am I gonna come in and out of prison for the rest of my life and taking stuff and doing all this shite? You know what I mean?" And then it's mad. I remember reading a book. It was a guy he'd spent time in prison on the Isle of Wight for the same offences as me. Me, and he just asked God for help. He just read this book. This was towards the end of the seg when I got that out. And he said he was just he was in the seg the same as me, and he said he asked God for help. He said, I thought it was full of shit and all this shite, and I thought, and then I just prayed that night, and I was like, listen, if you let us out the seg tomorrow, I said, I'll change my life. I said, I'll do whatever I can to change my life. I thought, it's not going to work. And it's mad, the next morning they come and went, Marriner, you back up the thing. So I think it was that, a little bit of belief in that. And I really got into me training down there because there's nothing else to do in the seg. So I got into every day I just started doing little circuits, building myself up. I'd always went to the gym in jail, but not really consecutively. But when I got the seg, I started training on my hours out. I had an exercise bike.
Right,
So I would do I'd get an hour, so I'd walk around the yard. I'd do 20 minutes on the bike, and then I'd do my phone calls and stuff like that. And then I'd work out 2-3 times a day, just writing little circuits. Because there's literally nothing to fill your time. You're just in there with a bed, and you get sick of reading books.
So we're just getting out for 1 hour exercise?
Aye, that's it. 1 hour a day for exercise. So just mind them, and trying to fill 23 hours in a day with nothing, not even a telly or, you know what I mean? Brutal,
So did you get yourself extremely fit as well?
I got really fit. I lost a lot of weight. And then as soon as I come back out, I went to see the gym staff, and I was like, I need to work down here. I'm really focused. I really want to. And they were like, if you're serious, you can have a job down here, you can work down here. And then
gym orderly.
So I was, and I loved it. So I used to do that every afternoon, and I'd done a food course with Manchester College on the morning. So I worked there, just learning done levels 1 to 3 in food technology.
Right.
Which was I really got focused after that. I think that was a year into my sentence. That's when I got focused, stopped all the shite.
So you made prison work for you, because I did myself, because obviously you can just go in there and just sit there and waste away.
Aye.
But if you want to really change, you can't change yourself.
Of course you can. You've just got the thing with prison. What I think people don't really take massive advantage of is the education. You get all this free education.
Yeah.
And you don't. It's not taken advantage of. I'd done a business degree. I'd done a university degree with Durham Uni. I'd done sociology. I'd done Cookham Manchester College. I got me gym qualifications. Maths, English, I already had, but I'd done them again. So many qualifications. Every qualification that jail had to offer, I completed. And I really I just used it to my advantage, because I thought, if I give myself all this knowledge when I get out, I'll use. I've got to be able to use something, and I'll learn here when I get out.
But you've mentioned, I've never really mentioned it on none of my podcasts before, which about the education side of it. It's just like being in a school sometimes, because Monday to Friday you can go into education classes all week, can't you?
Aye.
Yeah, but it's definitely good for that. Like you say, if you really want to change your mindset and change your lifestyle, you can do it. But like you mentioned about the circuits and that as well, when you're getting yourself fit, it really boosts your mental state, doesn't it?
I loved it. I'd done a circuit every single day. every day.
And did you find happiness in yourself?
It really changed as a person, because I was like, I don't know, I think growing up I just seemed to just deal with loads of there was just loads of bullshit and all the drugs and fights and everything that went on. I think I dealt with by taking stuff and not wanting to think about it. Well, when I got into the gym, that gave us a different way of dealing with stuff and channeling any anger or stress or anxiety that I had. I always channeled it through that.
Think positive.
And I was I changed my mindset. I'm a really positive person now. I'll always I always find a way at any problem. You know what I mean? Where before I would just go have a drink, take drugs, whatever.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Done exactly the same with my mindset. Change it right around, and like you say, when you become substance free and then you find happiness, it's like a whole different world, isn't it? You think totally different. You feel different.
And you attract different as well.
You do.
You do. You attract since I've come out, every single all the opportunities that I have, and they just keep coming because you keep attracting them. You know what I mean?
So coming to the end of your sentence and stuff, what was happening there, and what was your plans for getting out?
Like I said, I'd done a business diploma, so I wrote myself a business plan. I used to write actual meal plans for the lasses on the wing, exercise plans for them to do in their cells and that. So I knew I wanted to do something like that. So when I come out, I start PTing and writing meal plans, and then I start doing bits of meal preps just for myself and my pals.
Right.
And that's kind of where my business started. Started from there, just meal prepping for about 4 people, and then more people just kind of jumped on it, and then it just grew from there.
And what's your business called? Is it?
It's called Clean Prep Up North.
Clean Prep Up North.
Aye.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put all your in the description. I'll put your links in the description so people can search you up and everything.
So I started off for 4 of my pals, and now I do 150 people's meals a week.
Do you, right?
Aye.
So have you got a unit or something?
In Sunderland, I've got a bistro.
Right.
In Sunderland, so we'll work from there.
And can people come in and get meals as well? Or
Aye. So we used to do daily meals and stuff, but we got really busy doing a catering side, Clean 17 it's called. So we couldn't do everything, so I kind of choose what's going to work best. So we stopped the daily stuff, concentrate on the meal preps and the catering,
right?
Because that's where we found we kind of thrived.
Yeah.
So now we just do. I mean, catering we're booked out until next year.
Oh yeah.
And the meal preps, I mean, we're not even closed for Christmas yet, and all of our spaces are filled for January.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's just.
Oh, you've done really well.
It's mental, crazy, and we're just the calorie counted, so we help people lose weight.
Right.
Which is that's our goal, to just help people. I mean, one guy, there's a big guy, Steve. He's been with us for a year. Helped him lose 7.5 stone.
Have you?
This year, right? And he's like a different person. He wasn't going out the house. Now he's out the house. He goes to the gym. He's just seeing how you change people's lives. Amazing.
I was going to say that. So, how does it feel for you now that, obviously, when we were younger, we were causing injuries on people and doing different things, and now that you're helping people and you can see how much it's helping them, how does that make you feel?
Good. It gives us a buzz to get up in the morning. You know, I enjoy going to work and I love what I do.
Aye.
It's that old saying, you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do, and it's the best feeling to be able to I think when people put weight on and feel shit about themselves, it's it's the hardest thing in the world to try and give someone motivation. But once they start seeing the pounds coming off, it gives them that motivation to get consistent and a different lease of life.
So you're we'll talk about relationships and stuff. You're married now, aren't you?
I got married this year in August.
So were you with, who was your partner, sorry?
Chloe.
Were you with Chloe when you were in prison? Did you get with her?
Well, it was mad. So I said, I was on remand and I come out and I was on prison tag. And I just went out. I think it was the Euros were on, and I went out on a random day, a Wednesday, a day I wouldn't normally go out. Went to the local, and she actually lived in Dubai. She was an air hostess.
Oh, right.
For Etihad. And she broke her arm. So she was on leave anyway. So she was out randomly on this Wednesday in the same pub. But she never went in this pub. So it was like a random thing, and we just met. So it was our birthday, and we ended up having shots at the bar and drinking and just having a laugh because I knew some of her pals who she was with, and then I was on prison tag, so I had to be in for 10 o'clock.
Right.
So I had to say, listen, I've got a gun, I'm on tag. She was like, what the fuck, basically. I said, pass your phone. So actually saved me number and I phoned under jailbait and like a cringy like wink emoji. But anyway, we were texting the next day and we ended up going out, and then she had to come back to Dubai, and then we were just like, I managed to get me tag lifted like the next month, and then I'd fly to Dubai, she'd come here, and then we dated, and then I just stood by us all the way through.
So you stood by your eyes, so you had that support as well.
Really looked after us. I don't think I could have done it as well as I did if I didn't have her on the outside. Definitely not.
Your story sounds a lot similar to mine as well, like going in, having someone standing by, supporting you and changing your mindset. So well done to you as well.
Cheers, buddy.
So you've got twins as well now, haven't you?
Aye, as if we weren't busy enough. Twins last December, so the one next month, little boy and little girl, Jude and Gianna,
Oh, brilliant.
Little crackers they are.
So what's happening, obviously, you've just explained there in your lifestyle now, it's very busy, you've got the kids. So is there anything else going on, or is it?
Just busy with work. We've got, obviously, a couple of weeks off for Christmas. We always close over Christmas just to, like, have a break.
Is Chloe like partners with you now?
So we're in the
business, sorry.
She worked. She moved back from obviously Dubai, and she was trained to be a dental nurse. And then when COVID hit, she was like working, like when she wasn't working, she was like obviously paid leave from home. So she started. The meal preps really propelled during COVID, so she started helping us. So kind of we start building it together, if you like.
Yeah.
So when she could go back to work, we just had a chat more, like she would just go all in, and so she left that job and went full on partners, which is beneficial sometimes, but also not the best working and living together. It does get a bit stressful. But.
So did you just get married before you had the kids?
No, after in August.
And it was Chloe that carried the kids, wasn't it?
Aye, she carried the kids.
So what was that like then? Was it an exciting time, or was it stressful as well? A mixed emotions?
Very hormonal. Hard graft. I think it's different stages in it. I think first stage was very stressful. Middle stage was quite chill, and then the last stage, I think, because she was quite little, so twins was a match, because they were quite big babies as well. So she really struggled towards the end, like.
To worry as well, watching them, isn't it?
Aye, because you just want them all to be all right. So
everything seems to be going well for you.
Aye.
Well, like I say, hats off to you for turning your life around. But we'll wrap it up now. But what I normally on the end of the podcast, I always say, like, what would you say to the youngsters now going off the rails, going down the wrong path that we went down? I just say, you know what? My biggest mistake, I think I surrounded myself with so many wrong people who I thought were me pals. I just say, look at your circle. Look who is generally there for you. Yeah.
Concentrate on them and just get educated. Education will take you
absolutely
far, you know what I mean? I know sometimes you can't be asked, but it's so important. So important, definitely.
Brilliant. But Lee, thanks very much for
coming
on.
Mate. Nice to meet you.